A smartphone is a mobile phone with an advanced mobile operating system which combines features of a personal computer operating system with other features useful for mobile or handheld use. Smartphones, which are usually pocket-sized, typically combine the features of a cell phone, such as the ability to receive and make phone calls and text messages, with those of other popular digital mobile devices. Other features typically include a personal digital assistant for making appointments in a calendar, media player, video games, GPS navigation unit, digital camera, and digital video camera. Most smartphones can access the Internet and can run a variety of third-party software components. They typically have a color graphical user interface screen that covers 70% or more of the front surface, with an LCD, OLED, AMOLED, LED, or similar screen. The screen is often a touchscreen. In 1999, the Japanese firm NTT Docomo released the first smartphones to achieve mass adoption within a country. Smartphones became widespread in the 21st century, and most of those produced from 2012 onwards have high-speed mobile broadband 4G LTE, motion sensors, and mobile payment features. In the third quarter of 2012, 1 billion smartphones were in use worldwide. Global smartphone sales surpassed the sales figures for regular cell phones in early 2013. As of 2013, 65% of U.S. mobile consumers own smartphones. By January 2016, smartphones held over 79% of the U.S. mobile market. History. Early years devices that combine telephony and computing were first conceptualized by Nikola Tesla in 1909 and Theodore Paraskevakos in 1971, and patented in 1974, and were offered for sale beginning in 1993. Paraskevakos was the first to introduce the concepts of intelligence, data processing and visual display screens into telephones. In 1971, while he was working with Boeing in Huntsville, Alabama, Paraskevakos demonstrated a transmitter and receiver that provided additional ways to communicate with remote equipment. However, it did not yet have general-purpose PDA applications in a wireless device typical of smartphones. They were installed at People's Telephone Company in Leesburg, Alabama, and were demonstrated to several telephone companies. The original and historic working models are still in the possession of Paraskevakos. Forerunner of the first mobile phone to incorporate PDA features was an IBM prototype developed in 1992 and demonstrated that year at the COMDEX Computer Industry Trade Show. The prototype demonstrated PDA features as well as other visionary apps like maps, stocks, and news incorporated with the cellular phone. A refined version of the product was marketed to consumers in 1994 by Bell South under the name Simon Personal Communicator. The Simon was the first cellular device that can be properly referred to as a smartphone, although it was not called that in 1994. In addition to its ability to make and receive cellular phone calls, Simon was able to send and receive faxes and emails, and included several other apps like address book, calendar, appointment scheduler, calculator, world time clock, and notepad through its touchscreen display. Simon is the first smartphone to be incorporated with the features of a PDA. The term smartphone first appeared in print in 1995 for describing an AMP-cheese phone writer communicator as a smartphone. PDAs in the late 1990s, many mobile phone users carried a separate dedicated PDA device, running early versions of operating systems such as Palm OS, BlackBerry OS, or Windows CE, Pocket PC. These operating systems would later evolve into mobile operating systems. In March 1996, Hewlett-Packard released the Omnigo 700LX, which was a modified 200LX PDA that supported a Nokia 2110 compatible phone and had integrated software built in ROM to support it. The device featured a 640 by 200 resolution CGA-compatible 4-shade grayscale LCD screen and could be used to make and receive calls, text messages, emails and faxes. It was also 100% DOS 5.0 compatible, allowing it to run thousands of existing software titles including early versions of Windows. In August 1996, Nokia released the Nokia 9000 communicator, which combined a PDA based on the Geos v3.0 operating system from GeoWorks with a digital cellular phone, based on the Nokia 2110. The two devices were fixed together via a hinge in what became known as a clamshell design. When opened, the display was on the inside top surface and with a physical QWERTY keyboard on the bottom. The personal organizer provided email, calendar, address book, calculator and notebook with text-based web browsing, and the ability to send and receive faxes. When the personal organizer was closed, it could be used as a digital cellular phone. In June 1999, Qualcomm released SCDM, a digital PC smartphone with integrated Palm PDA and Internet connectivity, known as the use Smartphone. In early 2000, the Ericsson R380 was released by Ericsson Mobile Communications, and was the first device marketed as a smartphone. It combined the functions of a mobile phone and a PDA. It supported limited web browsing with a resistive touchscreen utilizing a stylus. In early 2001, Palm Inc. introduced the Kskhh 6035, which combined a PDA with a mobile phone and operated on Verizon. It also supported limited web browsing. In 2002, Handspring released the Trio 180, the first smartphone to combine Palm OS and a GSM phone, with telephony, SMS messaging and Internet access fully integrated into Palm OS. Smartphones before Android, iOS and BlackBerry typically ran on Symbian, which was originally developed by Psion. It was the world's most widely used smartphone operating system until the last quarter of 2010. Mass adoption. In 1999, the Japanese firm NTT Docomo released the first smartphones to achieve mass adoption within a country. These phones ran on I-mode, which provided data transmission speeds up to 9.6 kbit per second. Unlike future generations of wireless services, NTT Docomo's I-mode used HTML, a language which restricted some aspects of traditional HTML in favor of increasing data speed for the devices. Limited functionality, small screens and limited bandwidth allowed for phones to use the slower data speeds available. The rise of I-mode helped NTT Docomo accumulate an estimated 40 million subscribers by the end of 2001. It was also ranked first in market capitalization in Japan and second globally. This power would wane in the face of the rise of 3G and new phones with advanced wireless network capabilities. Outside Japan, smartphones were still rare until the introduction of the Danger Hip Top in 2002, which saw moderate success in the US as the T-Mobile sidekick. Later, in the mid-2000s, devices based on Microsoft's Windows Mobile started to gain popularity among business users in the US. The BlackBerry later gained mass adoption in the U. and American users popularized the term crackberry in 2006 due to its addictive nature. The company first released its GSM BlackBerry 6210, BlackBerry 6220, and BlackBerry 6230 devices in 2003. Operating systems. Symbian was the most popular smartphone OS in Europe during the middle to late 2000s. Initially, Nokia's Symbian devices were focused on business, similar to Windows Mobile and BlackBerry devices at the time. From 2006 onwards, Nokia started producing entertainment-focused smartphones, popularized by the N-series. In Asia, with the exception of Japan, the trend was similar to that of Europe. In 2003, Motorola launched the first smartphone to use Linux, the A760 handset. While the initial release was limited to a single high-end handset only available in the Asia-Pacific region, the maker's intention was to eventually use Linux on most of its handsets, including the lower-end models. Further models to use Linux such as the Motorola Ming A1200i in 2005, and several successors to the Ming line would be unveiled through 2010. In late 2009, Motorola released the Motorola Kskhh, the first of Motorola's smartphones to run the Linux-based Android operating system. In early 2007, Apple Inc. introduced the iPhone, one of the first smartphones to use a multi-touch interface. The iPhone was notable for its use of a large touchscreen for direct finger input as its main means of interaction, instead of a stylus, keyboard, or keypad typical for smartphones at the time. In October 2008, the first phone to use Android, called the HTC Dream, was released. Android is an open-source platform founded by Andy Rubin and now owned by Google. Although Android's adoption was relatively slow at first, it started to gain widespread popularity in 2010, and in early 2012 dominated the smartphone market share worldwide, which continues to this day. These new platforms led to the decline of earlier ones. Microsoft, for instance, started a new OS from scratch, called Windows Phone. Nokia abandoned Symbian and partnered with Microsoft to use Windows Phone on its smartphones. Windows Phone then became the third most popular OS. Palm's Web was bought by Hewlett-Packard and later sold to LG Electronics for use on LG Smart TVs. BlackBerry Limited, formerly known as Research in Motion, also made a new platform based on QNX. BlackBerry 10. The capacitive touchscreen also changed smartphone form factors. Before 2007, it was common for devices to have a physical numeric keypad, a physical QWERTY keyboard in either a candy bar or sliding form factor. However, by 2010, there were no top-selling smartphones with physical keypads. 2010's technological developments. In 2013, the Fairphone company launched its first socially ethical smartphone at the London Design Festival to address concerns regarding the sourcing of materials in the manufacturing. In late 2013, QS Alpha commenced production of a smartphone designed entirely around security, encryption and identity protection. In December 2013, the world's first curved OLED technology smartphones were introduced to the retail market with the sale of the Samsung Galaxy Round and LG G Flex models. Samsung phones with more bends and folds in the screens were expected in 2014. In 2013, water and dust proofing have made their way into mainstream high-end smartphones, including Sony Xperia Z, Sony Xperia Z3 and Samsung Galaxy S5. Previously, this feature was confined to special ruggedized phones designed for outdoor use. In early 2014, Smartphones were beginning to use Quad HD 2560 by 1440 on 5.5 screens with up to 534 ppi on devices such as the LG G3, which is a significant improvement over Apple's Retina display. Quad HD is used in advanced televisions and computer monitors, but with 110 pixels per inch or less on such larger displays. In 2014, Wi-Fi networks were used a lot for smartphones. As Wi-Fi became more prevalent and easier to connect to, it was predicted that Wi-Fi phone services will start to take off. In 2014, LG introduced lasers on the LG G3 to help camera focus. In 2014, some smartphones had such good digital cameras that they could be categorized as high-end point-and-shoot cameras with large sensors up to 1 inch with 20 megapixels and 4K video. Some can store the pictures in proprietary RAW image format, but the Android 5.0 Lollipop serves open-source RAW images. By 2015, smartphones were increasingly integrated with everyday uses. For instance, credit cards, mobile payments, and mobile banking were integrated into smartphone applications and software-as-a-service platforms. Additionally, recent technological innovations are causing the role of traditional keys to be fused into the smartphones, because a smartphone can act as a digital key and access badge for its users. In October 2015, Microsoft announced Windows Continuum, a feature that allows users to connect the devices to an external monitor via Microsoft Continuum display dock. HP adds a layer to the Continuum with their HP Workplace, which enables user to run a Win32 app by a virtualized server. The first modular smartphone available to the public was the Fairphone 2, which was released in December 2015. Unlike most smartphones, users can remove and replace parts on this phone. Future possible developments. In 2013, it was reported that foldable OLED smartphones could be as much as a decade away because of the anticipated cost of producing them is dropping. However, as of 2013, there is a relatively high failure rate when producing these screens. As little as a speck of dust can ruin a screen during production. As well, creating a battery that can be folded is another hurdle. In 2014, it was reported that future smartphones might not have a traditional battery as the sole source of power. Instead, they may pull energy from radio, television, cellular or Wi-Fi signals. Mobile operating systems. Android is a mobile operating system developed by Google Inc. and backed by an industry consortium known as the Open Handset Alliance. It is an open-source platform with optional proprietary components, including a suite of flagship software for Google services, and the application and content storefront Google Play. Android was officially introduced via the release of its inaugural device, the HTC Dream, on the 20th of October 2008. As an open-source product, Android has also been the subject of third-party development. Development groups have used the Android source code to develop and distribute their own modified versions of the operating system, such as CyanogenMod, to add features to the OS and provide newer versions of Android to devices that no longer receive official updates from the vendor. Forked versions of Android have also adopted by other vendors, such as Amazon.com, who used its Fire OS on a range of tablets and the Fire Phone, as it is a non-proprietary platform that has shipped on devices covering a wide range of market segments. Android has seen significant adoption. Gartner Research estimated that 325 million Android smartphones were sold during the fourth quarter of 2015, leading all other platforms. Samsung Samsung Electronics, who produces Android devices, was also the top smartphone vendor across all platforms in the same period of time. iOS is a proprietary mobile operating system developed by Apple Inc. primarily for its iPhone product line. The iPhone was first unveiled in January 2007. The device introduced numerous design concepts that have been adopted by modern smartphone platforms, such as the use of multi-touch gestures for navigation, eschewing physical controls such as physical keyboards in favor of those rendered by the operating system itself on its touchscreen, and the use of skeuomorphism, making features and controls within the user interface resemble real-world objects and concepts in order to improve the usability. In 2008, Apple introduced the App Store, a centralized storefront for purchasing new software for iPhone devices. iOS can also integrate with Apple's desktop music program iTunes to sync media to a personal computer. The dependency on a PC was removed with the introduction of iCloud on later versions of iOS, which provides synchronization of user data via internet servers between multiple devices. The iPhone line's early dominance was credited with reshaping the smartphone industry, and helping make Apple one of the world's most valuable publicly traded companies by 2011. However, the iPhone and iOS have generally been in second place in worldwide market share. Windows Phone is a series of proprietary smartphone operating systems developed by Microsoft. Its original release, Windows Phone 7, was a revamped version of the previous Windows CE-based Windows Mobile platform. However, it was incompatible with the legacy platform. Windows Phone's user interface was designed to contrast with its competitors, utilizing a design language codenamed Metro, which de-emphasized iconography and skeuomorphism in favor of flat, text-based designs. The platform also featured concepts such as live tiles on its home screen that can display dynamic content, and hubs, which aggregate content from various sources and services into unified displays. Windows Phone also integrated with other Microsoft brands and platforms, including Bing, SkyDrive, and Xbox. Microsoft Office mobile apps were also bundled with the operating system. Windows Phone 8 was released in 2012. It was incompatible with existing devices, but switched to a core system based on the Windows NT platform, expanded the platform's hardware support and functionality, and added expanded enterprise-oriented functionality such as storage encryption. Windows 10 Mobile was released in late 2015. It is no longer promoted under the Windows Phone brand, as it is intended to provide greater consistency and integration with Windows 10 for PC, including cross-platform applications via Universal Windows Platform, and the ability to dock supported devices to use a desktop interface with keyboard and mouse support. The Windows Phone series has had poor adoption in comparison to its competitors. Lack of interest in the platform also led to a decrease in third-party applications, and some vendors ended their support for Windows Phone altogether. The most prominent Windows Phone vendor was Nokia, who exclusively adopted Windows Phone as its smartphone platform in 2011 as part of a wider partnership with Microsoft. Nokia's Lumia series was the most popular line of Windows Phone devices, representing 83.3% of all Windows phones sold in June 2013, and Microsoft acquired Nokia's mobile business for just over €5.44 billion in April 2014. forming the subsidiary Microsoft Mobile under former Nokia CEO Stephen Elop. BlackBerry. In 1999, RIM released its first BlackBerry devices, providing secure real-time push email communications on wireless devices. Services such as BlackBerry Messenger provide the integration of all communications into a single inbox. In September 2012, RIM announced that the 200 millionth BlackBerry smartphone was shipped. As of September 2014, there were around 46 million active BlackBerry service subscribers. Most recently, RIM has undergone a platform transition, changing its name to BlackBerry and making new devices on a new platform named BlackBerry 10, and in November 2015 released an Android smartphone, the BlackBerry Priv. Sailfish OS. The Sailfish OS is based on the Linux kernel and MARE. Additionally, Sailfish OS includes a completely proprietary multitasking user interface programmed by Yola. This user interface differentiates Yola smartphones from others. Sailfish OS is intended to be a system made by many of the MeeGo team, which left Nokia to form Yola, utilizing funding from Nokia's Bridge program, which helps establish and support startup companies formed by ex-Nokia employees. Tizen. Tizen is a Linux-based operating system for devices, including smartphones, tablets, in-vehicle infotainment devices, smart TVs, laptops and smart cameras. Tizen is a project within the Linux Foundation and is governed by a technical steering group composed of Samsung and Intel among others. In April 2014, Samsung released the Samsung Gear 2 and the Gear 2 Neo, running Tizen. The Samsung Z1 is the first smartphone produced by Samsung that runs Tizen. It was released in the Indian market on January 14, 2015. Ubuntu Touch. Ubuntu Touch is a mobile version of the Ubuntu operating system developed by Canonical UK Limited and Ubuntu Community. It is designed primarily for touchscreen mobile devices such as smartphones and tablet computers. Discontinued operating systems. Symbian. Symbian was originally developed by Psioneer's EPOC32. It was the world's most widely used smartphone operating system until Q4 2010, though the platform never gained popularity in the US as it did in Europe and Asia. The first Symbian phone, the touchscreen Ericsson R380 smartphone, was released in 2000, and was the first device marketed as a smartphone. It combined a PDA with a mobile phone. Variants of Symbian OS began to emerge, most notably Symbian UIQ, MOAP and S60, each supported by different manufacturers. With the creation of Symbian Foundation in 2008, Symbian OS was unified under one variant under the stewardship of Nokia. In February 2011, Nokia announced that it would replace Symbian with Windows Phone as the operating system on all of its future smartphones, with the platform being abandoned over the following few years. Windows Mobile. Windows Mobile was based on the Windows CE kernel and first appeared as the Pocket PC 2000 operating system. Throughout its lifespan, the operating system was available in both touchscreen and non-touchscreen formats. It was supplied with a suite of applications developed with the Microsoft Windows API and was designed to have features and appearance somewhat similar to desktop versions of Windows. Third parties could develop software for Windows Mobile with no restrictions imposed by Microsoft. Software applications were eventually purchasable from Windows Marketplace for mobile during the service's brief lifespan. Windows Mobile was eventually phased out in favor of Windows Phone OS. BARDA. The BARDA operating system for smartphones was announced by Samsung in November 2009. The first BARDA-based phone was the Samsung Wave S8500, released in June 2010. Samsung shipped 4.5 million phones running Bada in Q2 of 2011. In 2013, Bada merged with a similar platform called Tizen. Firefox OS was demonstrated by Mozilla in February 2012. It was designed to have a complete community-based alternative system for mobile devices, using open standards and HTML5 applications. The first commercially available Firefox OS phones were ZTE Open and Alcatel One Touch Fire. As of 2014, more companies have partnered with Mozilla, including Panasonic and Sony. In December 2015, Mozilla announced that it would phase out development of Firefox OS for smartphones, and would reposition the project to focus on other forms of Internet-connected devices. Palm OS in late 2001. Handspring launched the Springboard GSM phone module with limited success. In May 2002, Handspring released the Palm OS Trio 270 smartphone that did not support Springboard, with both a touchscreen and a full keyboard. The Trio had wireless web browsing, email, calendar, a contact organizer and mobile third-party applications that could be downloaded synced with the computer. Handspring was purchased by Palm Inc., which released the Trio 600 and continued releasing Trio devices, with a few Trio devices using Windows Mobile. After buying Palm in 2011, Hewlett-Packard discontinued its WebOS smartphone and tablet production. WebOS is a proprietary mobile operating system running on the Linux kernel, initially developed by Palm, which launched with the Palm Pre. After being acquired by HP, two phones and a tablet running WebOS were introduced in 2011. On August 18, 2011, HP announced that WebOS hardware was to be discontinued but would continue to support and update WebOS software and develop the WebOS ecosystem. HP released WebOS as open source under the name OpenWebOS, and plans to update it with additional features. On February 25, 2013, HP announced the sale of WebOS to LG Electronics, who used the operating system for its current smart or internet-connected TVs but not smartphones. In January 2014, Qualcomm has announced that it has acquired technology patents from HP, which includes all the WebOS patents. MeeGo is an operating system created from the source code of Moblin and MIMO. Before that, Nokia used MIMO on some of its smartphones and internet tablets. MeeGo was originally envisioned to power a variety of devices from netbooks, tablets to smartphones and smart TVs. However, the only smartphones which used MeeGo was the Nokia N9 and Nokia N950. Following Nokia's decision to move to Windows Phone OS in 2011 and to cease MeeGo development, the Linux Foundation cancelled MeeGo in September 2011 in favor of the development of Tizen.